All right, I think we're good. Here we go. So today is Friday, December the 4th. We're at the last day of another fabulous week of NTI, which means it is test day. Our story this week was called How Do You Raise a Raisin? It was the start of a new unit in our reading where we're talking about making some cool science connections to nature. And this week was about people and animals interacting with nature. And we talked on Monday about how people can go fishing and people can go hiking and people can go camping and people can use things in nature as tools to do things and make things. And the story of the week was about raisins, and it was nonfiction text, expository text. The author's purpose was to inform, and it told us how raisins are made and what we can do with raisins, and it's a pretty cool story. In our story this week, we had our big three of reading. Our word work, our phonics and spelling was about contractions. Our comprehension skill was drawing conclusions. And our vocabulary was about homophones, words that sound the same, and your weekly vocabulary words. So real quick before we get started, contractions was the phonics, word work, spelling, whatever we're going to call it, skill of the week. That's when you take two words and you put them together to make a shorter word. We talked a little bit about how these are different than compound words. Compound words are words that you take two together and put them together to make a new word. Contractions use apostrophes to shorten the word. So instead of saying, I would not do that if I were you, and even though that's a fine sentence, sometimes you sound like a robot, our language lets us shorten down some words. So she says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. We're going to a movie after. So it's just a cool tool that we can use, but when we use them, we have to remember to use this apostrophe. The apostrophe replaces the missing letters. It's kind of like a comma in the air. When we read and we have a comma normally, we pause and we move on. The apostrophe kind of pauses the letters, kind of. Drawing conclusions is a tough third grade skill. Luckily, this is the second or third time that we've been able to review it. When you draw conclusions, you use new information that you've gotten from a text and old information that you have already, your prior knowledge, to make a decision or to come up with an answer. So we're going to watch this really quick video about conclusions. It's like a minute long.
When you read, you are always drawing conclusions. A conclusion is a decision or judgment you reach after all the facts and details have been considered. What you see here is a nice park with lots of people having fun. But this man and his daughter look like they're leaving. Why? If you look at the scene a little closer, maybe you can figure it out. What details help you figure out why they are leaving the park? What conclusion can you draw about what's happening here? Think about the details you see. You may have also used some of your prior knowledge or what you already know to figure out what was going on. Being able to draw conclusions helps you understand what happens in a story. Looks like everyone else at the park needs to draw the conclusion that they may get caught in a rainstorm.
So for the man and his daughter, they had the knowledge already that when it rains, you should probably get out of there because you're going to get wet and it's going to ruin your picnic and it's not going to be much fun. They had that knowledge already, but they got the new knowledge of, oh, it's going to rain today because look at the raindrops, look at the dark clouds. So they were able to draw the conclusion that today may not be the best day to go stay at the park. When you read your test today, there's going to be a passage and it's going to ask you to draw some of those conclusions. You have to use information that you have with information in the text to answer some questions. Weekly vocabulary words. We did not do enough with these this week. So we're going to do a quick review right now for your test. Your words were area, which is a space used for a special purpose. Artificial, which means it's not real. It's made by humans and not by nature. A grapevine is a vine that grapes grow on. That's a true compound word. It's a vine for grapes. A preservative is a science word, probably the hardest of our vocabulary words this week. It's what they put on food so they don't go bad. It's not bad for you. It's just what they add to them so it can stay longer. Proof is a word that most of you already know. Proof is something that can be used to show if it is true or real. So if you are answering questions, if you're solving a crime, if you're trying to figure out what happens at the end of your TV show, you need to find that proof. We look for proof in the text to prove that we have the right answer. Raise is a verb. It means to lift something up. And a raisin is every third grader's favorite snack, right? No, it's a dried grape. And for some reason, people either like them or they don't. So raisins are dried grapes. And these are your vocabulary words for the week. And we're going to be okay. It is Friday, so when you go into Google Classroom, you're going to click on the activity, and then you're going to get this beautiful green page that says, take me there. It says Friday the 4th reading tests. Let me click on this and log in real quick so you can get a quick preview of what your test looks like. It's going to make me log back in, so thank you for being patient. On your side, I'm actually glad it's doing this because it's doing the wrong thing. On your side, when it loads, it might ask you to click on your name to sign in with Google. I'm not sure if it's still going to have you do that. I think it's just going to have the test, but I can't remember. So here it is. Let me go back because that's showing me your scores, and I don't want to see your scores yet. You haven't done the test yet. So let me do a couple clicks real quick, and I can pull up what your test is going to look like. Week 1, nonfiction about raisins, weekly test. Here we go. Okay, so when it starts, it says week test 1 online. Answer the questions carefully. After you submit your test, you can't check your answers. So remember to use all of the buttons and the tools on your screen to make sure that you are getting everything done. Some of your directions and questions have this blue speaker button that you can click on, and it'll read the directions to you.
Answer each question carefully. After you submit your test, you won't be able to change your answers.
So it's there if you need help listening or reading the directions. So on the bottom, it says progress, and then it has the question number you're on. Back and next on the top, it'll always have what section of the test you're on and the directions. So for vocabulary, find the word or words with the same meaning as the underlined word. Click the circle next to the answer. So the first sentence says, Tracy drank a soda with artificial sugar. What does artificial mean? Unnatural, extra, flavored, or strong? Head to the chat box and tell me the letter that you think is the correct answer. Artificial, is that A, unnatural, not real, B, extra, something more, C, a flavor, or D, very strong? What do you think? A, B, C, or D? Tracy drank a soda with artificial sugar. If they're telling us this, do we think this is real sugars? Would they tell us, would we care if she was drinking soda with real sugar? Maybe not, because that's just how it's made. But if they tell us that it specifically is artificial sugar, it's probably something important, which means maybe it's not real. I know that it's 9 o'clock. We're almost done. It's unnatural. So A is the correct answer, unnatural. So I would click the A, and then I would click next to go to the next question. And then it's going to spin, and it's going to load, and then we're going to have the directions again to remind us what we're doing. Vocabulary, find the meaning of the underlined word. And then the sentence, the bakery put a raisin on top of the cupcake. Think about what a raisin is. Is a raisin a fresh cherry, a chocolate chip, a jelly bean, or a dried grape? So you're going to think about what a raisin is, click on the answer, and then press next. You have 7 vocabulary words today. So the first 7 questions are about vocabulary. Starting with question number 8, the top's going to say word analysis. That's that word work that we were talking about. Same directions. Find the word or words with the same meaning as the underlined word. She couldn't open the door. So I have a contraction, couldn't, and I need to find what is couldn't. What words make couldn't? Cannot, should not, could not, or were not. Couldn't. She couldn't open the door. Head back to the chat box. Is it A, cannot, B, should not, C, could not, or D, were not? Which 2 words make up the contraction couldn't? My chat box is filling up with C's, and you guys are correct. First things first, remember that couldn't, a contraction, is made up of 2 words. So A is not the right answer. And then I have to look and I have to see, well, which word does it start with? And before the contraction, I have could, and only one of them has could as a choice. So C is the correct answer, and then I'll press next. And then there's a couple of questions about contractions. Beginning with question 13 is our comprehension section. Our passage this week is called Antarctica. This is another connection to what we're talking about this week. The genre of our weekly story was expository text. It's nonfiction that tells us facts. And our passage on our test today is also expository text, nonfiction. So we have paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They're not numbered for you, so be careful. But the plus is this stays on every page. On the bottom, directions, choose the item that best answers the question about the selection you just read. Click the circle next to the answer. So question number 13, it tells me it's 13 on the bottom. What conclusion can you draw from paragraph 1? So use your test taking strategies, go back to paragraph 1, and then see which answer you can conclude from that. And then you have 20 questions. When you are finished with your test, this box is going to pop up. It says review progress. Make sure you've answered all the questions before submitting your test. Click submit to turn in. Here it says the questions that we've answered and the questions that we have not answered. So if you skipped one, you can click on view question and go back and answer that. If you don't go back and answer them, they will be marked wrong. They're marked as zeros because you didn't answer them. When you're finished, this button on the bottom, it's either black or blue. It will say submit test, and then you click on that, and then I get your score, and then you can move on to Lexia. So a lot of talking today, but it's the background knowledge you need to be successful on your reading test today. After you take your reading test and you pat yourself on the back for doing some good hard work, you're going to Lexia.
Hey, Angel, don't forget that as soon as we're done with reading, you can hop on with Mr. Bill, okay? Got it?
So we sign off. Mr. Bill is ready for Angel at 9:30. He's ready for Caden. At 9:45, he's ready for Jet. And then at 10 o'clock, we're done with reading and ready for math. My slides in the wrong order. Our passage this week was called One Birthday for All, 5 paragraphs about Beth King and her family traditions. We'll talk about the rest of these notes after that. Lexia and silent reading today. I'm going to hang on to Yasmin, Taylor, Azaria, Kaden, and Melanie for about 2 minutes. I won't keep you long. Angel's going to leave and go on with Mr. Bill, and then it's time for math. So I'm going to go back here for a minute. I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to check in with you.